All right, everybody, welcome back. We are going deep today.
Deep
into Canada-U.S. trade relations.
This is a big one.
It is a big one, and we've got a great article here that we're going to be taking apart called Canada and U.S. Trade Tariffs. A temporary pause.
Temporary pause question mark.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is going on?
Right.
So much back and forth.
A lot of uncertainty, a lot of question marks, I think, for people on both sides of the border.
Yeah. So tariffs.
Tariffs.
Let's just start there. Like, what is a tariff?
A tariff is essentially a tax or a duty that's imposed on goods that are imported from another country.
Okay, so it makes those goods
more expensive.
More expensive for the
consumer.
Right. Okay, so in this case...
In this case, the U.S. imposed tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports.
And so this impacts a lot of different industries, but there are a couple that are called out specifically in the article.
Right. The auto industry and the energy sector seem to be the ones that are most affected.
Right. And we know that President Trump, the goal here, at least as he has stated it, is to protect American jobs and American industries. But I'm curious, this tariff on Canadian energy was set at 10%.
Right.
Which is lower than some of the other tariffs.
Yeah. And that really raises some interesting questions, I think.
Yeah.
While the stated goal may be protecting American jobs and industries, some analysts suggest that these tariffs are being used as leverage in broader trade negotiations.
Okay.
That the 10% on Canadian energy could be a strategic move to kind of create some divisions within the North American trading bloc, or perhaps it just reflects the fact that the U.S. still relies pretty heavily on Canadian energy resources.
Okay, so Canada's not just going to sit back and
not at all take
this.
They retaliated with tariffs of their own on $125 billion worth of U.S. products.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And they didn't just pick any old products. They were very strategic about it. They targeted goods that are produced in states that are really crucial to Trump's political base.
Oh, so they're hitting back.
They're hitting back.
Politically as well as economically.
It's a pretty savvy move, I think.
So we've got tariffs on cars, energy, ketchup, maple syrup.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the essential Canadian picnic basket.
Right. Playing cards, sleeping bag.
Yeah, it's like, what are they going to do, weaponize picnics?
I mean, you're not wrong to find that a little bit absurd.
Yeah.
But I think it highlights just how complex this web of economic and political interests really is.
Absolutely.
But then just as things were really heating up, Trump makes a surprise announcement.
This is the temporary pause.
The temporary pause. It wasn't a complete cancellation, though.
No, it wasn't a complete cancellation.
Right. It was an executive order creating exemptions for some Canadian imports, but the language is so vague.
So vague.
It leaves businesses and investors just scratching their heads like, what exactly is exempt here?
Right. It's less of a pause and more of a
head scratcher.
A head scratcher.
Yeah.
So no wonder there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, there's whiplash.
Yeah.
And that level of uncertainty is incredibly damaging to businesses who are trying to plan for the future. Investors get really skittish in these situations, and it can have a ripple effect throughout the entire economy.
Absolutely. But, through all of this, Trump is sounding pretty confident.
Right.
He even called it a, quote, little short-term interruption.
Right.
End quote.
And I think that statement is really telling.
Okay.
It suggests that he's viewing these tariffs as a negotiating tactic. He thinks that a short burst of pressure is going to force Canada's hand in these negotiations.
Okay.
But the big question is this truly a short-term issue, or is this just the beginning of a much longer trade war?
So what does this all mean for our listeners? It sounds like we're kind of in uncharted territory.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes the situation so compelling as we watch this unfold. Think about this. How might this temporary truce, as shaky as it is, impact the ongoing trade negotiations?
Right.
Will it create space for a more lasting agreement? Or is it just going to delay the inevitable escalation?
Right. And what about the long-term implications for both economies?
Exactly.
This is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And it affects everybody. So
the answers are anything but clear.
Yeah.
But they're definitely worth thinking about.
Well, we will certainly be keeping our eyes on this.
Me too.
And we'll be back to keep you updated on this trade roller coaster.
It's going to be a ride.
It's going to be a ride. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks.
We'll catch you next time.